Can we hear the raw vocal?
Can we hear raw vocal?
Yeah, sure.
Oh my!
To a foreign land to go and kill the yellow man. Born in the USA.
And if I was actually doing a real mix, I would shit you guys right the fuck out of here.
You'll have to come check out my studio. I have a laptop. Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of Dead Wax. We got a super special episode today. We are at the home of Bob Clearmountain.
The legendary mixer Bob Clearmountain. We're gonna listen to Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA, which he mixed. He's pulled up the multi-tracks and we're gonna go check them out.
So here's Mix This. This is my studio.
Oh my God.
Wow.
This old huge hunk of metal is called an SSL 4000. You don't see many of these nowadays in studios. Mostly it's just a couple little faders and a computer, but this is how we used to do it in the old days, and I'm an old guy, so I still do it like this. Okay, so we got Born in the USA on the desk.
As in the Born in the USA.
Yeah, this little known artist named Bruce Springsteen, and I didn't record this. It was recorded by a guy named Toby Scott, and but I did mix it.
On this
the original.
board?
No, mixed it on one like this. Well, it was an E series, but it's very similar to this at Power Station in New York.
Power Station.
Yeah. So this is a mix I just threw together yesterday, actually. But this is the.
Dead man's town. The first kicker took us when I hit the ground.
That's the original.
End up like a dog that's been beat too much till you spend half your life just to cover it.
And that's the one now.
Really close.
Oh wait. No, that's closer.
So, are the vocals raw and being processed, or is there stuff printed on the vocal?
No. No, there's no processing.
Can we hear the raw vocal?
Can we hear raw vocal?
Yeah, sure. Without
Oh
anything.
my God.
That would be.
So they put a rifle in my hands.
Oh
Sent
my-
me off to a foreign land to go and kill the yellow man. Born in
The bleed.
USA, I was
Well, he sang it live.
Oh my God.
Sounds like he's singing into a 58.
Born in the USA,
Could be.
I was
I mean,
Possible.
sounds like a close
That's
dynamic.
so cool.
And wait, can we hear the vocal process too? Soloed is so cool. Let's hear that vocal process.
USA, come back home to the refineries. Iron Man says, son of
So I had some-
up to
You got a short delay?
Yeah,
Went down
With
to
some
Santa
reverb.
Fe, man.
that's my echo chamber.
And he said,
It's a model of your echo chamber.
Yeah, that's a
Using Altiverb.
yeah, that's using Altiverb.
And what's the slap?
The slap is Clearmountain's domain.
don't you understand
That's the slap.
now?
Wait, so yesterday you pulled up all the raw files and you mixed it again using your original mix as a reference to try and get close.
That's right. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
not
I can't
exactly
believe how
the same, but
close you got.
It's pretty close.
It's really close.
Yeah, and
'Cause-
some of it.
You weren't using any of this stuff when you originally
No.
mixed it.
No, the snare drum was a gated EMT plate, right? With these things called keypexes, which were gates back in the day. But now, this is without.
Wow! That's
I mean,
the
it's
dry snare.
It's just a drum kit.
Yeah.
But then I happen to have this plug-in on my thing called the Born in the USA snare,
Okay, is that a preset?
which is a preset actually.
In the Clearmountain Domain
See,
plugin
it's
series.
gated plate, which actually isn't a plate. It's a gated live chamber because I didn't have a plate. But
Woo! Wait,
that's
Can
the
we-
preset.
can we talk about that sound? Because was that not kind of your innovation?
I
Like
don't know
that
if it
didn't
might-
really exist.
It might have been. I don't remember, but people have asked me that before.
Yeah.
But it might have been. I'm not sure if I was the first one to do that.
So
but I know AMS ended up on their reverb. They
Yeah.
had a gated reverb thing that they came up after that.
Because that is the defining
The sound of the
characteristic
80s.
80s drums.
Yeah.
That gated reverb on the snare. So wait, just to make sure I understand, you got on that snare drum, do you have any compression or like
Oh yeah, actually I do. I didn't back then, but now I have a parallel compression. So the
Gotcha.
first channel here is going through an 1178 and EQP. That's that bottom EQP.
Can we try something? Can we hear the raw snare, and then can you add in all of the layers of
yeah.
compression
yeah.
and EQ and
Yeah.
That's the raw snare.
Okay.
I mean, that's unbelievable. What's amazing about that is it doesn't sound like the 80s at all.
No, it sounds like we could have recorded that
It sounds
yesterday.
like we recorded that yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just sounds like a 57 on a snare.
So it's just the processing that really makes it feel, but puts it in the decade.
right.
So that's the parallel compression, which it just gives it more attack,
Yeah.
right? This fast attack, fast release.
Yeah, it adds a lot of dirt and
Yeah, it just brings up all that.
This is so cool.
That's Bruce's guitar. And he calls that the primal scrub.
Oh my God, this is Telly.
Yeah, it's telling you.
Oh, it's out
my
of tune.
God.
He's
He's
slamming it.
he's bending the strings.
Son of
He's
Phyllis
singing at the same
to
time.
me. When-
And then he overdubbed the rhythm.
So are there multi-track guitars on this, or is it just that guitar?
No.
Well,
It's
and
that.
Steve, right?
And then Steve's playing acoustic, I believe. That you barely even hear.
Oh, that's such a good guitar sound.
I feel a little harmonizer on it.
Yeah, what is that, the H3000? What is that?
Yeah, that would be the Eventide.
Okay, wait. Can we dig into that acoustic guitar? It's so
I
pretty.
don't know if I did that originally,
Okay.
but I just thought it'd be nice.
So is there a slap on that too?
No.
Yeah. What's the echo? What's the delay?
It's just the live chamber,
Oh,
mix this chamber, and the ambience, the Apogee ambience.
How long, when you pulled this up yesterday, how long did it take?
I don't know,
Once-
hour, maybe, hour and a half.
So you did this mix yesterday in an hour. And the original one, would you have spent longer than that on it?
Probably a couple hours.
so a
2 or
mix
3
takes you a
hours.
couple hours.
Well, something like this, you got to understand these guys mix themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This album was one of the easiest records I've ever mixed, because the band just, they're like a bar band that's used to playing with each other,
Yeah.
and so they kind of know what to do. And not only that, but Bruce, especially something like this is an angry song. I mean, I don't know if people realize what it's about. I mean, Ronald Reagan thought it was a patriotic song.
Right.
And it kind of is in a way, but it's like a reverse patriotic, because it's about how badly we treated Vietnam veterans.
How
That they
much-
came back here. A lot of them, so many of them died, and they got maimed and
Yeah.
they got sick, and they came back here and we treated them like shit, and so you hear that anger. Listen to that. That's angry. He's fucking pissed, man.
Yeah.
How much are you typically listening to the lyric as you mix?
Depends on the music, It depends on who it is. If it's some sort of really poppy love song, I mean, okay, I don't know. And I mix a lot of French stuff, and I don't ever know what they're talking about. So it's more about the melody and just the feeling of the music and the vibe. But with something like this, I am listening to the
Yeah.
lyric, because this is it's a protest song.
Right.
It's a meaningful, very meaningful song. And so I kind of get myself in the head of what I try to get him to think about what he was thinking about when he wrote it, you
Yeah.
know? And it's anger.
Can you walk us through like a typical process? Like when you brought it up yesterday, would it be easy for us to hear just like raw, no processing?
But that's without that stuff.
Born in the USA, I'm a long gone daddy in the USA now.
Still sounds pretty good.
It sounds great.
Sounds great.
Born in the USA. Born in the USA, I'm a
Who's playing the shaker?
daddy in the USA.
That's probably
I never
Max.
noticed the shaker. He overdubbed it?
Yeah. That would've
It's
been
kind of like
overdub.
wonky.
It just adds a little
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah. So many little mistakes and like just expressive.
Mistakes? What do you mean?
Exactly.
Are there strings doubling that piano line? What is that?
No,
What is the
it's
double
here.
of that
I'll
piano
show you.
line?
Oh, there's still more stuff that I forgot to turn off. Sorry. Well, there's this.
Oh, it's the synth.
Now this,
it's a
I've
bright synth.
added this thing, which is Clear Mountain's phases, right? Which I will shut off for a minute. Because it's really just a mono synth sound, right? And I don't remember what I did
So
originally.
you're stereoizing it.
So, yeah, basically,
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
and it just kind of,
Just
Yeah.
widens the whole thing.
you know. And then there's the thing that's doing the melody is this Yamaha something. I don't know what it is. But then I added,
Take it again. Keyboard player messed up. Let's one more time.
that's probably Bruce. And I added that and that.
Oh my god. Wait, what was that?
Yeah,
that
what was
sounds
that?
insane.
That's 4 harmonizers.
So is that a plugin?
It's a two
Is that the Eventide plugin?
Eventide.
You
Yeah,
know what
two-
all this makes
two-
me feel like? It makes me feel like I overthink everything because you hear some of these tracks soloed. Like I would probably never use that particular sound in a mix, but then
Right.
in the context
Yeah, right.
of the mix, it is perfect and it
Well,
sounds amazing.
That was the thing, right? I'm mixing this yesterday, and I didn't have that, and I thought, geez, I wonder if I could bring that out a bit, and I added that, and not only that, but if you hear that in Atmos,
Oh,
so
wow.
two harmonizers back there and 2 up front, right? And the Yamaha's in the center.
Oh, it sounds enormous.
Right, and then without that, it's just that.
So when you sell this back to the Springsteen estate, what is our cut, would you say, for instigating this? That's so cool.
Wow.
Oh man, I want to talk about this for
I know.
3 more
Oh, my
hours.
goodness, I
There's
know.
so much to talk about.
Yeah, there's so many
Um,
more tracks we haven't soloed.
I know.
Actually, that's about it. I think we didn't go through all these. How about this one? This is a wacky thing. Without the EQ. Wait, let me put that back in the front. And it's like a direct. Oh, wait. And I added harmonizer to that. What is
So
it?
that's
no-
that's Bruce's overdub.
It's somewhat. I don't know who played it. To me,
Sounds
but
more like Steve.
that might be Steve.
Yeah.
And there's no bass in that. It's just top end.
Well, it's like through a fuzz tone or something.
Yeah.
Can we hear all the
But then I
guitars
did
together?
that.
Oh, what is that?
That's an EQ. I filtered the top so it wasn't so, and added mid-range,
Cool.
like that. And then I added harmonizer. All right.
So
the
is that
harmoni-
is that like a micro shift
It
kind
sounds
of
like
vibe?
a chorus kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is it
well,
just
it's only
changing pitch?
it's just like 5 cents. Just
5
like
cents
what-
on one, so it separates
So
it into 2 signals, and it does a 5-cent detune on one of the
It's
chains.
just adding a 5 cent
I
detune,
see.
basically.
I see. Okay.
You know.
And is it a 5-cent changing over time? Is it a modulation, or is it just
No,
a
it's
5-cent?
Just
Okay.
stationary. Because I haven't really thought about this stuff the way you guys are. I just don't.
So
I don't
okay,
think
take
about
us
it like that.
take us through.
Wait, I'm just curious what you mean by that. What do you mean you don't like
Well,
you don't?
because when I'm mixing, it's just I don't know,
Intuitive.
it's either intuitive or just stream of consciousness or whatever. But you guys are actually dissecting it, and I don't think about it that way. I don't think about each individual thing.
You play everything at once?
It's really interesting to me. No, I just sort of add stuff. I go, oh, I know I need this, and I'll just turn some knobs, and oh, there you go. You know, It's
Right.
like,
But you don't usually like talk about those choices
I
as you're
never
making
do.
them. Yeah.
I never do.
Yeah. They're the secrets
And-
that are in your
And if I was actually doing a real mix, I would kick you guys right the fuck out of here.
because we'd be distracting
Because
you.
I'd be like,
Yeah,
man, don't make me think about all this stuff. 'Cause
Yeah.
then it kind of
Right.
it would ruin it for me. But for this is great.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
so because I never really thought about this stuff, and so for me, this is actually really fun.
Yeah.
So can you take us through your process of like you pull up all the tracks and how do you navigate through?
Yeah. Where do you
Where
start
do
a
you
mix?
start?
Do you start with your drums and get a good drum tone? Where
No.
do you actually start?
No, I usually start with a rough mix. Like I'll just put everything up. I'll listen if there is a rough mix. If the producer and the artist gave me I'll listen to that just to get some feeling by what they were thinking when they
Was there a
recorded
rough
it.
mix of this?
No, there
Okay.
wasn't. No, because
It was just what you played
think
us
there
when you
was.
took off all the processing.
Uh,
That's
there
what
w-
you started with.
no, with this there was my original mix, which is
Right,
on
right,
there.
right. But
And so I
when you
listened to that.
when you mixed it for the first time,
This is the first time. No,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So you pull up all the faders, you
And just
hear
a
it, you
rough
get
mix.
balanced volumes to
Yeah, it
kind
gets
of
sort of
between
about,
tracks.
and then I'll solo each channel just
Mm-hmm.
to hear what each thing's doing because I want to know. I think of it almost like a play or a movie where I want to know their characters
Yeah.
in the story,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I want to hear what the contribution is of each thing, and what's going on. And then not only that, but if there's any problems, if there's some kind of weird rumble going on, I'll filter it out or whatever, you know. But then I'll just sort of put it together, and then a lot of times it's really different each time. I mean, sometimes I'll start with a vocal. So, okay, where should this guy be living, you know? And what kind of, I'll
You mean
try a
what-
bunch of different effects.
when you say where, you're talking about like in the frequency spectrum?
No, more like environment, like do I
Spaces,
need reverb? Do
spatially.
I need a
Got it.
slap on it? Do I need a long delay or something like that?
Yeah.
And but sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll just start. A lot of times I just start with guitars because I'm a rock guy, you know, and I
Yeah.
love guitars. And so, okay, where's should they be panned? You know, oh, I see. There's two guitars doing rhythm, so I'll pan them left and right.
And how hard, like, what did you decide on for panning for this?
Well,
this song.
these two main electric guitars I pan hard left and right.
Can we
The
hear those
acoustic-
panned hard left and right? Let's see what.
Let me put the EQ in.
Oh yeah.
Right. You know, so that's sort of the basis
That
of the
is
thing.
so cool.
Yeah. Right.
You know, then
And
there's
are there more? There's two more guitars, right?
the acoustic guitars, Steve's acoustic guitar.
Man, that acoustic guitar sound is so cool.
Yeah.
I love that harmonizer on
Is
the
that
acoustic
is
guitar.
it high passed above what, like
Well-
400?
This is nothing. So what I'll do is so I've high passed it a bit because it's too boomy,
Yeah.
and that'll make it disappear in the mix. And so I cut out some of the very low bottom, push some mid range, right? So that really brings it out.
Where's that? What mid range?
That's like a 1.5K,
Okay.
something like that. Sometimes I'll make it real broad, and then add a little just top end just to get that.
The top
string.
like 10, 12, 15? Where's the top?
That's like 8K, I think.
8,
something like
okay.
that. I don't know.
Wow.
And
And it's high passed where?
70, it says.
And
Okay.
what makes you, Bob, how come sometimes you use onboard EQ and sometimes you turn to your outboard gear? When do you make that choice? When you can't get out of the sound what you want
Yeah.
from this?
Basically.
So you start with this, and then if there's something specific that you want, some kind of character, you'll go to one of your outboard pieces.
Yeah.
And these
Well,
are
this-
more broad spectrum?
They're broader. I usually keep them all the way broad because I like the way they sound
Yeah.
that way. But they're not as powerful as these things. So a lot of times I end up with them like on the piano, it's cranked at 5K, right, all the way, and all the way broad at 10 bandwidth.
Huh.
And but they just have a nice sound
Yeah.
to them. You know what I mean? Even though they're not the most powerful things. These are more surgical, where you
Right.
can. They're really good if you have a problem and you want to dip a frequency out.
So can we hear all the guitars
Yeah.
And then I want to hear it with bass too. I want to hear just what the full guitar bed sounds like, acoustic and electric.
String section.
Yeah, let's hear your strings. Enormous.
And then in the Atmos, I put these guys in the side,
Cool.
but they're really quiet. But those are the main guitars moving left and right.
Went down a
Whoa, that's so cool. Okay, and then can we hear the bass?
And that,
Oh, it's kind of bright.
yeah. Then I stick that through the Neve 33609 and the Avalon. I just added like 71 cycles, real low bottom.
And is it, do you ever high pass bass? Is that high pass at all?
That's not.
Okay.
No.
It's kind of crunchy too. What's giving, is that the compressor that's giving it that extra little fuzz, or just the way it's recorded coming out of
It's
the
the
amp?
way it's recorded.
So are we hearing amp
DI.
and DI, or is that just
that's-
amp?
I think it's just a DI.
It's just a DI.
But we're hearing bleed.
Well, maybe it is an amp.
Yeah, there's drums in there. Yeah, so
It could just be through his pickup because
Wow.
he was in the room with Max.
Mm.
He was standing right in front of the drums, I think.
whoa.
And so hard to say.
How much do you think about like, and you might just feel this, but do you think about a mix fitting together like this, frequency wise and space wise?
Yeah.
You think about like planes, and you want some things up front and some things
Yeah,
behind to give
absolutely.
dimension.
Yeah. I mean, so much of balance is EQ, really. You know, and you kind of carve things out to make room for other things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's always that thing where I'm not doing it on this, but a lot of times you'll have like big Marshall guitars or something, and you take out some of you do a little bit of a high pass, and all of a sudden the bass becomes more apparent. You know, because it's not
Yeah.
conflicting anymore.
Yeah, like
you know, that kind of thing.
subtractive EQ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it adds to other things.
Yeah.
When Jack, so we went to high school together, and Jack told me about subtractive EQ when I was.
I went way too far with it.
Yeah.
I was surgically carving like 4 decibels here and 2 decibels. I did it too much.
It drove me. I was like, oh my God, all of my mixes are wrong. You're not thinking about any of. I mean, you're doing it intuitively,
Yeah.
but you're listening to everything at once.
Yeah.
And you can hear where buildup is happening and experiment with taking certain frequencies out of other instruments to make things come through.
Well, that's the thing. You just listen to it, and you know, people ask me, "Oh, how do you know when your mix is finished?" And I sit there, well,
It's never done. You just stop working.
no. If I stop getting up and fixing stuff, you know, like I'll listen to it and I go, "Oh no, there's something wrong there."
Yeah.
You know, there's something wrong with that guitar sound, or there's something getting in the way of the bass, or
Bob, what are these right here?
sometimes- All right,
Drums and toms? What is
these
that
are
extra?
These are VCA groups. So basically, this is just a grouping.
What's VCA stand for?
Voltage controlled amplifier?
So you can turn up and
like-
down the whole drums.
Oh, I wanted to show you why I don't use the motors.
Nice.
That's why.
Whoa.
But it does kind of work,
Oh my gosh.
you know. But
Okay, so you're just controlling, literally, you're controlling all those faders with one
Yeah.
VCA group here.
yeah, but I mean, it's just like a VCA group
Yeah.
in Pro Tools or something. like
Okay,
that.
got
It's
it.
kind of the same sort of thing.
Got it.
But these are real VCAs.
Can we hear? Since we get a multi-track here, I'm just wanting to
Yeah.
dig in a little bit.
Isolated.
I want to hear like guitar, bass, drums. I just want to hear what that rhythm section sounds like.
Should I put the processing back in?
Yeah.
Drum. And maraca.
It's got so much life.
Let's turn it down so they can hear us talk.
So when you listen quiet, Because you'll change volumes when you're mixing something. How quiet do you go?
Sometimes I'll go, you know, if I have a headache, I'll turn it away.
Yeah, and just see what it sounds like down there.
that.
Can we hear
And
it
then
on the Dynaudios?
Yeah. See, it's compatible. It doesn't sound
Yeah.
that much different.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing is this. It's a TV.
Nice.
Oh, that's great. Just for shitty speakers, so that you get a sense of like
Yeah.
what's it going to sound like for most
Through
people.
like your aura tones.
And that is very unusual television. They don't make them like that anymore where the speakers actually
It actually
facing you.
sounds good. There's a lot of
It's good.
high end. To go back to this mix, you finish your mix. What do you do with it? Do you send it to Bruce?
What I'll do is in the middle of the mix, when I think I got it to a point that, well, with Bruce, it's a little different because he's usually listening live over,
He's there while you're mixing.
well, he's in New Jersey, but he listens, there's a thing called Listen To. You
Yeah.
probably know what that is.
But back in the
Right.
day, how would like the first time you mixed
Oh, well,
it?
he would just come in and sit down and listen and go, yeah, Bobby, I like that, but, you know, it sounds too good. You know, could you make it sound more annoying?
Did he actually give you that note?
Many times.
So he wants you to trash it up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, having this thing, I don't know how you guys do it in the box. 'Cause
We didn't have a choice.
I know. But I was so lucky that I bought this when I did. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's fun. It's just fun. And the automation, that's the thing. This automation is so great because you never have to think about it. You know, I missed that. You just roll back, boom. Okay, there, that's better.
When you're actually getting those getting automation set, do you do that like at the end, or are you just automating constantly through the whole process?
No,
You're
no. I
adding
mean, I get the
automation.
sounds when I'm actually building the mix, the sound of the mix. You know, so I got to get it so that statically it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Right
you add
before
automation
mine,
sort of as a last step in the process.
Yeah.
So
and then-
how? What's the pie split up of time there? Is it half your time spent getting the sounds, half your time spent automating, or does one take
maybe,
longer?
Yeah, that
Okay.
could possibly.
I think that's a key difference from modern younger mixers
Yeah.
and like people that came up mixing on boards because I mean maybe I'm naive, but it seems like when I watch people like yourself or Dave Way mix, there's so much in volume and writing
Yeah,
things
there's a
and
lot.
that like we're used to just clicking and setting the levels and maybe one or two spots will ride a vocal.
Right.
But that's something that I've learned that like wasn't aware of before was how much you can get just out of volume automation.
Well, I learned, to go back to the 70s, and there was a guy named Tony Bon Jovi who was John's cousin. And, but I used to assist for him. He was brilliant. I mean, he built Power Station. He designed it. And,
Wow.
And so he knew about studios. But I would just watch him mix, and he would do, there was no automation back then. And he'd sit there and he'd ride the vocal and then he'd ride the drums, and he'd just do this live.
So if there was no automation, at some point he had to perform the whole
Oh,
mix,
yeah.
right? So once he kind of knew, oh, here's that drum fill, he would push it up a little bit, and then, oh, I got to bring up the lead vocal for this
Right.
chorus. And then at the end, he'd have all those moments memorized, and he would just be...
The way we used to do it back in my day, you'd try to figure all that out, but then you'd mix it until, okay, you missed something because there were like 4 things that you had to do, right? And so you'd stop, you'd roll back, and then you'd chop it all together at the end.
Right.
On your 1/2-inch or 1/4-inch tape.
Yep. So you're
Right.
yeah.
Because you're mixing in little.
You're recording your
sections.
performance. You mix something. You don't have to go back to the top. You can just
use that
rewind,
chunk
use the
that you've
chunk.
printed to tape.
Well, you're kind of mixing in sort of sections, unless you nail it, unless there's not that much stuff to ride,
Yeah.
and then okay, possibly you could get all the way through, but usually you don't.
Bob, this is such a treat, man. Can't
So
thank you
fun.
enough for having us.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
This is really fun.
This is so cool to see. Thank
Yeah.
you for inviting us and letting us hear these mixes.
Yeah,
And you'll have to
sure.
come check out my studio. I have
Yeah.
a laptop and got some plugins on it.
He's
and
got a distressor.
I do have a distressor. Yeah.
Well, you're on your way there.
I got 2 speakers about this big.
But yeah, let me know if you want me to do an Atmos mix for you.
Oh man, I'd love it.
Oh
Yeah.
man, it'd be
We
sweet.
promise
Be
we
fun.
won't be here and bug you while you're doing it.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. This has been another episode of Dead Wax. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know if you have suggestions for what we should listen to next, and we will see you next week.